Hello, everyone. I am Alondra Rena. I am a professional makeup artist, actress, entrepreneur, singer, writer, so many things. And I'm here in China.
So take me to your childhood, okay? When the first image that comes to your mind when I say home.
When I think of home, I'm just kidding. Home. So I was born in New Orleans, reared in Georgia. I only lived in New Orleans 3 years of my life, and was reared in Georgia. So when I think of home, I think of Georgia. I think of family fun. I think of church. I think of so many things. Yeah, I think of how beautiful my childhood was. I think of growing up and going through the motions of life and being misunderstood and then being understood and then so many things. The house I grew up in, first of all, a village raised me. I grew up in many houses. My grandparents' house was like the main house, but then my mom had a place, but my uncles, my aunts, I grew up in everybody's house. So it wasn't just one house I grew up in, and it was many things cooking because it was so many different houses. So the base of this is I come from a family that had many churches. My grandfather was the bishop of many churches, and our headquarters was located in Albany, Georgia. So it was my life was centered around that. So home was family reunions, every holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving spent with a lot of people because I had a lot of family members. And yeah, it was an interesting childhood.
Who was the first person that made you feel truly seen as a child?
The first person that made me feel truly seen as a child was my grandfather, my mother's father. And he was a very gentle man, but very firm and stern. And when he spoke, people listened. So he made me feel seen in the sense of I could be myself. I could always count on him. He was a very trustworthy man inside and outside of the home. And we traveled together, we did everything together. So he was the very first person to make me feel seen. A key turning point in my life was when my grandfather passed away. I was in 10th grade, and it was a key turning point for many reasons. It was the first time I ever wrote a letter that my grandmother framed, and it was a writing of a prayer. So from that moment on, I started writing, and I would pen out all of my prayers, which led me to eventually become a published book author.
That has a little girl that you did not get, and how did you learn to give yourself later?
Well, when I was a little girl, my mother and my father were divorced early on, but I was always raised. I had a stepfather, and I was always raised by a man and my mother. So my grandfather was in my life, my stepfather was in my life. But fast forward, when I began to date, and in my 20s, I got married, and I didn't understand what needed to be healed inside of me from my biological father not being around. In my mind, I always wanted to be my biological father's friend because I never had any hatred or anything towards him. And I always leaned in to try to understand his perspective and why he wasn't around as much as I wanted him to be. So I didn't think that I had anything to heal from within that because, like I said, I always had male figures, I always had leaders, I always had the best men around me. But fast forward into my dating life, it things would manifest like issues with abandonment, issues with not really being so connected. So I always call it a gift now. Because sometimes our biggest mishaps become our biggest blessings. So I call it a gift now, but I have a really good gift of disconnecting in the sense of when I was younger, it didn't work for me. Now that I'm older, it works for me. I didn't know how to manage it or channel it. So it came off and manifested as something wrong versus right.
So going deeper into your childhood again, going back, and was there a version of yourself as a child you had to hide to survive that household or that town when you grew up?
No, it wasn't. Was there a version of myself that I needed to protect or hide growing up in my household? The answer is yes and no. No, because I was able to be myself in the sense of around my grandfather. My grandfather always nurtured me being myself. His main goal was to instill Christ in me, never to change me. So it came off very loving and very supportive. In my mother's household, sometimes I felt kind of stifled because, we would bump heads on certain things. Even though I love her, I think that's just a mother and daughter's relationship from what I understand. So yes and no.
Okay. So speaking about your grandparents, especially the women in your life, your grandmom and that of your mom, what did the women in your life teach you about beauty before you ever touch makeup?
Okay. Where did my craving for beauty stem from? My mother owned hair salons my entire my entire childhood. As a matter of fact, I don't remember my mom not working in and owning hair salons. So I was a salon baby. The hair salon is my comfort zone. So that's always been a go-to place of comfort for me, even in my adult years of working in the path that chose me. So beauty has always been my thing. Yeah.
If your 8 years old self walked into the room right now, what would you say to her?
If my 8-year-old self walked into the room right now, I would say, sing, girl, sing. Because when I was 8, I was forced to sing in the choir because I had this shy side to me that obviously my grandfather did not even try to notice. He was like, "No, you gonna sing. You gonna sing." And not only was I going to sing in the choir, I was going to lead songs in the choir as my 8-year-old self in the adult choir. Nervous, scared, fearful, but still had to do it because at the end of the day, I wanted to please my grandfather. Because he was the best man ever. So we just had that kind of bond where it's like he nurtured my growth in the sense of I see something in you, so let's lean into that. Yeah. So that's what I would say to my 8-year-old self. Sing, girl, sing, because that was one of the starting points of my singing. So other than that, personally, I was young, so I don't really have anything like oh, there's another key point. There's another key point. I would say be comfortable in your emotions because all of your emotions have value. What I only needed to learn was how to channel my emotions, but love the whole of who I am. Yeah. The last thing I would have ever expected about the life that I'm living right now is that I would be living in China. I would be attached to the people I am today and to the and I would know some of the most amazing people I know today, and and really connect with them on a deeper level, not just hey girl, how you doing, or hey, how you doing. It's just like I'm blessed. I am so blessed in that way.
When did you first notice that beauty and image carry power?
Ooh, when did I first notice that beauty and image carry power? I noticed that as a little girl. Very young, very young. There were women that used to sing in the church that I would look up to. There were beautiful singers that would come, and my family has always been open to music producers coming to stay with us, musicians coming to live with us for a moment and stay with us. So our house was a revolving door of, like I said, music producers, musicians, singers, songwriters. Our house, whether it was my grandfather's house and my grandmother's house or my mom's house, it was always a revolving door because my mom had always been in that industry as well. So beauty and entertainment always intermingled, and that's what I recognize it to be. And so image was always a thing connected to that. So that's when I realized that beauty and image had power because for me as a young girl, the connection was seeing people on stage or in the forefront or in the needing beauty. Having beauty and needing different things to cater to their beauty and their style. So it was always a connection. It was always a connection in how they were treated as well. So
Okay, what I'm saying is that as a childhood, being on stage,
as a
performing,
child being on
yeah,
stage,
performing and all of those things,
uh-huh,
you started to perform at a very early stage.
yes.
What was the hint, or what was
My life revolved around stage. Like I said before, my grandfather nurtured certain things. The people I saw coming in and out of our households were always on stage. My grandmother was on stage. My grandmother was a professional gospel singer. So I always was around music. I was always around performances. I was always around beauty. I was always around intellect. I was always around spiritual advancement. So my whole life evolves around all of that.
right?
Yeah.
So
But there was no certain moment that clicked with me in church. Because I was more on the shy side. So I never knew that I would be performing until I was divorced, in the sense of I was just young and didn't know what to look for. and just going with the flow of certain things and not honoring my whole self. So I ended up getting married, and then 2 years later was divorced. And it was a very stressful situation because the person changed within the marriage. So I lost myself. I lost myself thinking that, trying to figure things out because I didn't even know how I got there, so to speak. So I had to find myself again. I had to figure out what I liked, what I didn't like. And in that is when I realized that I still had a voice. And that's when I started using my voice. And that's when I started, you know, going back out and singing and doing things that really connected to my spirit.
So to take me back to those moments when you going through those hard times
Yes.
and being that voice, how did you reinvent yourself? Elaborate more.
Now, this is good. How did I reinvent myself after divorce? Okay. That process was very daunting. It was a hard process. It was a sense of, it had me feeling like I was going crazy to a certain degree. And here's why. I didn't know anything about myself anymore, but I was still planted in certain environments that allowed me to open my eyes again, to open the door. That was something I wasn't used to. So it wasn't a routine thing for me to, down, up, down, up, down, up. It was like, how did I get here? I need to figure out how to get myself out. So I had to be strategic. Strategy is everything when you're dealing with a very harmful situation. So I had to be strategic, and I had to be honest, and I had to not really be concerned with embarrassment because I was embarrassed. With my family, I was embarrassed with a lot of different things. So these were emotions that I had to process in order to heal. So beyond the hurt, the pain, the abuse, the da da da, beyond that, it was the emotions that was connected to all of that. Like, one thing about healing is you cannot skip the process. You have to go through the process. And for many, people don't understand what that process looks like. What it looked like for me is separation. I had to disconnect myself from everything I knew from him. It looked like putting myself in environments that are only healthy for me to help me hear, because faith comes by hearing. So I had to start listening to good things and really transition my mental, like deal with my own mind of this is not your fault. This is, the blame, the embarrassment, the shame, the stuff that comes with it. And I started having to live again. And I had the right people around me to help me do that. After my divorce, I started to reach for things that was all about me. What did I want to do again? What did I love? What were the things that I enjoyed? What didn't I like? What would help me grow? What would not help me grow? These are the things I sought after my divorce because I had a really stressful marriage. And I lost myself. I lost myself in it because I thought I was getting married for love and all the good things. But I was a child. Even though what I know now that I would tell the younger version of myself is that even though you don't have everything you think you want, you still have what God placed inside of you.
When did you first realize makeup could do something deeper than change a face?
Oh, that's a good question. When did I first realize that makeup can do something deeper than change the face? When I when I am doing makeup, I can see the transition from a person feeling sad or emotional into a person feeling confident and brave. And to see the light bulb go off and the switch is absolutely amazing. When you're doing makeup for everyone, the personalities of different people and how they transition from one state to another after the application of makeup and how they feel. When you look good, you feel good. And it's directly connected to your emotional state. As a woman, sometimes as a man, that's the whole idea from even when men change from male to go into drag makeup, it's a whole different, they transition into a whole different person. So after seeing that and being around in the world and just seeing all of the different types of transitioning, I know that makeup is directly connected to your emotional state. So when you look good, you feel good.
That's good. Take me to a moment where you, or give me a story even that the first time you ever transformed your face, professionally or not, what was the feeling afterwards? What was that? Can you give me a story?
Oh, the first time. Oh my God, it's been so long ago. I don't even remember the first. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so I was hired. So I'm a self-taught makeup artist, and what that means is when I got divorced, I actually in the moment of trying to find myself is when I figured out I loved makeup, and how that happened was I was broke. I was broken in the moment of healing and trying to figure out the things that I liked, what I didn't like. I walked into a Barnes and Nobles. I'll never forget this. I walked into a Barnes and Nobles on a Monday, and all I had was enough money to have a cup of coffee. And I sat in Barnes and Nobles every single Monday with one cup of coffee, studying up on previous makeup artists, previous professional makeup artists, well-known makeup artists, and studying their techniques and their craft and their talent. And so I would just read books and I would try to figure out different techniques and learn the educational portion of makeup artistry. And then I walked in because I needed a job. I walked in Ulta Cosmetics and I asked them for a position in makeup artistry. And I had never been a professional makeup artist. I only studied, I only practiced, and that kind of thing. And they said yes. And from that moment, that's what started my professional makeup artistry career.
That's good. So in that moment, did you recognize the calling, or only when you look back now, did you recognize that as a calling?
I feel like everything I do is what I am called to. in the sense of that's the part that makes you become more intentional with living, with doing things, with knowing what you want and going towards your calling. I feel like everything works towards your calling. So there's no specific one calling. But makeup artistry was something I was just really good at. And I knew my niche in the makeup artistry world was enhancing the beauty of natural women. It was never about painting faces. It was never about trying to glam someone out. It was simply about enhancing the natural beauty of a woman. So I was known as a natural makeup artist in the celebrity world, even. So that's what started my career, and it just evolved from there. So that ended up being a 20 plus year stint in the entertainment world, music, television, film, and everything. And makeup artistry, the love of makeup artistry took me to LA, but the gift of makeup artistry took me to New York and back to Atlanta. So by the time I moved to LA, I moved to LA in 2009, early 2009. Well, I thought it was 2008, but maybe it was 2009. I moved to LA and I did makeup for someone on her birthday, and she ended up loving it. And that's how I was connected to the entertainment world, as far as she allowed me to do makeup for all of her artists. She managed artists. And I did the album covers of her artists. I worked with her artists on photo shoots and some of the well-known gospel artists that we listen to today. So I felt like you're called to things that you are great at naturally. I also feel like a calling shouldn't be hard. Yes, there's a process with the calling. Yes, there are tough moments, but the calling itself shouldn't be hard. So I guess that's how makeup artistry is considered a calling. I don't know. Yeah. I think everything I do, I'm called to. I don't think there's anything that's how my mind works. My mind works in a world where everything I do, I am called to simply because it caters to my growth in some form of fashion. So, yeah.
That's good. So in that moment, was there a resistance from your family or your community towards that path?
No, I think that's the beauty of being brought up in America. There was never a resistance with my family, with any of that, because for one, they were all in those industries as well. Like, it wasn't anything. Now, here's the thing. Education has always been very important in my family. Very, like on both sides, on every side. And although my father wasn't directly connected to me, I was still connected to my father's family. I always had my father's side of the family. So that's another reason I never felt disconnected. So on both sides of my family, they are in some of the same things. They're all creative people, but they're all highly educated. They're all intelligent. They're all spiritually aware in some form of fashion. I don't know how connected, but spiritually aware. You know what I'm saying? Some unquestionable, but majority of my family is like, highly spirited people. And God is the center of everything in my family. So that's on both sides. Yeah.
Okay, great. This is the moment when you become a bit vulnerable as it relates to your career path and all of that. Was there Did you ever doubt this calling?
Did I ever doubt makeup artistry?
Yeah, that it was probably too small for you.
Of course. There were times I made mistakes. There were times I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn. You know, people think that they know how to work on sets and they know they you know like every environment in the makeup artistry world is a different world in the sense of you have to know how to work with people. You have to know how to work in different environments. You have to work very long days. You know, it's not as easy, it's not as simple as just applying makeup on a face. It's long hours, it's traveling, it's sometimes not enough pay, it's getting told no when you think you need a yes. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah, I think everything you do has opposition. Everything. Yeah. So,
Take,
yeah.
take me to that moment when you felt that this a specific
There were moments that I wanted to give up the artistry because I felt like there were times it just wasn't enough. You know, a lot of people would tell me I should be in the forefront, but I played the background a whole lot. So, in that, there was even tension in that, you know. Some people were harder to work for. So there were moments that was just, yeah, it was unattractive in the makeup artistry world, you know. But I think that comes with the territory, right? With everything. How I tell a difference between a talent and a calling is that when you're called, there's nothing that's going to stop you, not your personality style, not your attitude, not what someone says about it. It's something that's innately inside of you that keeps moving you forward, no matter what the opposition is. Talent is something you get burnt out of. You can get burnt out easy. Yeah, you can be great, but if it's not satisfying your soul in some aspect, you will burn out.
What do you believe God or purpose was preparing you for in those 80 years in that you did not see yet? What did you believe that God purpose?
What do I feel that my purpose was with all of that? God purposed me for in it?
What
What do I believe? I believe that I am purpose. I believe that God allowed me to go through everything and be called to everything and be, when it comes to specifically makeup artistry opened doors to be connected to certain people, to be exposed to certain things, to be able to do certain things that I would have never been able to do otherwise. And I feel like that was the purpose of makeup artistry. And also to, in my process, help people to feel their best, be able to understand my ministry within it, not only to know what I'm good at, but to know that I can be connected to something so powerful through something that people consider small. Now, with every calling, I feel like I am the purpose. I feel like although my purpose is for other people and I enhance other people within my purpose, I am still the purpose to say I am the vessel being used to do that. So I have to honor myself within it. And the more you honor yourself, the more you grow to know yourself, to know what you like, what you don't like, your boundaries, you keep sacred, the things that you won't talk about, the things you will talk about, the people you will be around, the people you won't be around. So in finding myself, I am purposeful.
You believe that you're on the right path.
There were always signs to know that I was on the right path. There were always signs for me because along the way I've always looked for signs. In the moments I felt like giving up, clients would call me. Clients would send me emails to say, oh, you're missed in LA. Oh, I wish I had you here. And, certain things like that keeps you going in the very moments you want to give up. It's like there'll be little signs, like it's all kinds of signs. It was 20 years. It's been 20 plus years stint. So I've had signs throughout the entire thing. My first sign was my first yes as the job within the makeup artistry. My second sign was moving to LA and being placed directly in the group of people I needed to be in the moment I got there. Like I lived like a person that's been in LA trying to live for years. So these were signs to me that if someone asked me how I did it, I would say it's nothing but God. Because I was connected to the right people as soon as I landed in certain places. Even in New York, when I left from LA to New York, and I moved to New York because I was contracting with different networks based out of New York, but I was living in LA. They were keeping me busy in LA, but then I was like, okay, maybe I'll get more work if I lived where my contracts are based out of. So then I moved from LA to New York, and I got some work there, but I was only in New York for a year because then I got busy in Atlanta, back home. So I'm like, okay, I got on a show for A&E, a life coaching show with Mel Robbins. I was her makeup artist on the show, and we had to film in Atlanta, and that's what moved me back to Atlanta. So these things don't just happen. You know what I mean? Like I reverence God in all of this. All of this is a sign. Yeah, everything. Oh, for a woman who feels her gift is too small to matter, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. A gift too small to matter, somebody buying you one. But a God-given gift too small to matter? Psh, no, out of here. No, that's nonsense. Here's the thing. There's a starting point, and then there's a process after the starting point. And then there's a certain mental toughness you have to within the process for the amount of gifting that you have. And if you cut off your gifting too soon, then your mental is not strengthened enough to maintain the bigger gifting. So you have to go through the process. So and the start is just a start. A start always hurts. That's always the tough part.
So, what separates a makeup artist from someone who understands brand and image at a strategic level?
Just because you understand branding and image don't mean you know how to do makeup. And some people who do makeup don't understand branding and image, and it all works together, because this is the level of understanding that will get you in the doors and keep you there. People love to do the art, but don't like the education behind the art, and even the branding education. If you do makeup for a wedding, you're probably at the wedding for maybe 2 or 3 hours, depending on how close you are to the bride or groom, because, that determines whether you stay for the whole wedding or not. You just get paid to be there for a couple hours versus being on set for 14, 16 hours on a movie set, waiting and understanding how to deal with that versus your day-to-day operating style. Your day is client, makeup artist, timing, do the work, get paid. But when you're on a set, when you're in film, it's creating characters. It's bringing characters to life. It's so much more education behind of makeup artistry. How to talk to people. When you're on a set, they're all artists. We're all artists. So you have to be very particular about how you deal with people, because you can get blackballed in the industry simply from something you may think is small. But it could be that your attitude is not right. You may be gifted and talented, but maybe you have a bad attitude and people don't like working with you, Or maybe you think you're worth a certain amount, but then your personality style or you don't understand how to manage. So we're going into the performance life now. Yeah? So let's talk about the transition from the makeup artistry to the performing side. So I started out as a makeup artist in 2004. That was my first makeup artistry job with Ulta Cosmetics. They gave me a shot. It evolved from there. I became self-employed. And that's when I started looking for different avenues, where it was theater, anything. I wanted to just open up and expand my understanding of makeup artistry and the levels of makeup artistry. But I broke into theater in that time. I knew one of my friends needed an actress, about to say extra actress, but needed an actress for a theater show. And she needed someone who would be able to sing. So my first theater performance was also a singing performance. After that, I started modeling, which also opened more doors and avenues of different people. My network expanded, and more people started to see me through the modeling. I modeled for 7 years with a jean company called PZI Jeans. And that opened a lot of doors and had me to meet a lot of different people. So within all of these environments, it seemed like I ran into the same people. And that's when I realized it started all working together. I was building a business the entire time. It wasn't just, the only time it was just a service was when I was working for someone. Makeup artistry was a service when I was at Ulta, but I was building my business within Ulta, because my clients that I would get in Ulta, they would start booking me outside of coming into Ulta. So there's a convenience that comes with you being able to go to them. So you're always building your business. It doesn't have to be a set thing to say, oh, I'm building my business and this is the moment. It starts when you start to take your talent seriously. You're building your business. You're keeping in contact with your clients. You're starting to get booked outside of the company. So now you're building your Rolodex, or you're building your black book, or whatever you want to call it. You're building your contact list. And Now you're remaining in contact with them. And then when you go outside, you don't have the backing of the company. So now you have to be professional. Now you cater to their timing, to learn how to charge according to what you provide. Then you have to start your service menu to say exactly what you're going to provide to connect the financial portion of it. Then you got to start your Excel sheet just to keep up with when your clients are coming in and how much they're charging and what. So everything is building the business. You start by saying, oh, now the business is being built. You're collecting data the entire time. If that's something you want to do. Once you're outside of the organization, you don't want to just be starting. You don't want to now start building your clientele. You start building your clientele on somebody else's dime. They do it to you. Then you have to deal with the idea, do I want to do this or not? It's like, okay, I know I can, but now I got to deal with the idea of, do I want to do this? You know? So there's that.
Great. And you also mentioned about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right? You also mentioned about building a network.
Yes.
And how did that building of your network and that of being in close proximity to where you work, you were at the moment, of being building what you were building with your brand itself?
Well, this thing called access, right? When I had a makeup studio in Atlanta, a small makeup studio, and I closed it in February of 2019. By May of 2019, I was in China. What happened in the interim there is I had reached a stagnant point. I felt stagnant in what I was doing. And it's not that I didn't love it anymore, it's that I needed a new challenge. I have a master's degree that I was not leveraging because when you're self employed, you're not really using your degrees. So, I mean, it gives you knowledge to the business side, but it wasn't really being leveraged. So, I said to myself, what can I do to firstly move internationally because I had never done that? That was a new challenge. Secondly, what can I do career wise that would move me internationally wisely, right? I knew it wasn't makeup artistry because I was self employed, right? And that doesn't necessarily go with visas, not in China. So, not at that point. This was 2019. And so I said, I'm going to leverage my degrees. That's when I started teaching. So I got the certification, started to teach here, moved here to teach. Now, teaching is something I've always done, not in a classroom setting. I've always taught, make everything I do, I teach. Everything I do, I teach. I've been a program director for a nonprofit organization where that was in a classroom setting, but I wasn't like a teacher. I was a director. I did that for a year at a homeless shelter for women in transition. And it was ministry more than anything. Then I taught makeup artistry. I taught it in some beauty schools. Some of my friends who I worked with in the salon world, because I always had the salon to fall back on. And they would ask me to come and teach makeup artistry for their students who are trying to get cosmetology licensing. Teaching is embedded in me. It's not a position. It's not a career path. Teachers teach, no matter what it is. What I'm doing now has to do with what I've always done. I chose teaching because it has me doing everything I love to do. It's not about a position. It's not about anything else. Before we get there, Um, you said you mentioned feeling stuck, right? I want to expand on that because that's also the point that I wrote my book. I felt a level of being stagnant, not really stuck, but it bothers me more. The idea of being stuck bothers me more so because my mom used to put in our heads, you are never stuck. You are never stuck. The whole reason I learned how to drive a manual car, a stick shift, because all in my head, even in college, it was just, you're never stuck, feel stuck, you're never stuck. So it bothers me a little bit more to have that feeling, right? But when I get that feeling, I know that there's another challenge coming. So my next question is, what is the next challenge? Growth hurts. Anytime you feel stuck, that means it's time to grow. And a lot of times we're forced into it beyond of, oh yeah, I'm ready to grow. We never really sign up for the idea to grow. We have it in our head and we have the vision of what the growth looks like at the end, but we never know what the growth is like in the process. And it hurts. It hurts. And I always say, you feel that nudge to grow, it only gets heavier. It never gets lighter. So the longer you take to make a move, the heavier and heavier and heavier that nudge gets.
Would you tell someone that is up, specifically a female that feels stuck today?
Ask yourself, what is the next challenge? Ask yourself, how can you challenge yourself to feel unstuck? What is the focus? What's the focus? And don't be afraid to rest. Like, go to sleep, take a nap. Wake up and then ask the question again. If you don't get the answer right away, go back to sleep. Sleep. Get some rest. Don't start looking old. You know what I mean? Just like, it's okay. Like, as long as you're not dead, you're alive. You know what I mean? Like, you're not dead, you're alive. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that. As long as I'm not dead, I'm alive. So I have a moment. And sometimes I think we need to learn to be still, because sometimes it's okay to be stuck. Sometimes that is not only preservation, sometimes it's protection. Like, just sit down somewhere for a minute. You know what I mean? And think. Think by yourself. Stop trying to get the world's opinion on who you should be and who you shouldn't be. Stop listening to all of everybody got two legs trying to make it. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody. The biggest person I look up to, I guarantee you they don't know what they're doing. Like, not a person in this world who you can look up to that knows exactly what they're doing at all moments of every single day. The goal is not perfection. The goal is never perfection. I feel like the closer I get to perfection is the closer to death I am. Because if you look at it, that's when people become so perfect. And so I would say, keep living until you die. Just keep living. You only have one of these things called life that you know about. Whether you believe in reincarnation, it's not attacking anyone's belief system. That you don't know what's beyond this one, if you don't even know what's in this one. So, you know, a part of us just have to live. You know, my mama raised me. I have to honor my mama in a lot of this, because that woman, between her and my granddaddy, they spoke in parables all the time to me. They made me very analytical. They always spoke around things, and I had to kind of figure it out along the way as I grew into it. And my mama would always say, number one, you're never stuck, but number two, everybody got two legs. They'll ever be better than you. Nobody. They'll never be better than you. So I was raised on that. Now, that doesn't mean along the way I didn't have lower self-esteem or less confidence or anything like that, because the moment you try something new brings about a level of building confidence, right? So I'm not saying that I was perfect in that from her telling me. It's just that it helped me to process things along the way, to say, you got this. You can heal from this. You can get through this, because everybody's trying to make it. That's life. Don't nobody know nothing. Everybody just think they do. You know, as soon as something work out for them, now they're an expert. So stop listening to the voices of people that have absolutely nothing to do with where you're going or who you are or what you are about. It does not matter. Everyone, issues flow from the heart. People speak from the issues of the heart. The issues of the heart flows out of the mouth. What people issues are has nothing to do with you. It's from the heart. So people say what they feel, they do what they feel, and they act according to their design, not yours.
That was powerful. That was good.
Thank you.
So, what is the cost of in knowing your calling? Kind of costs you.
Oh, God, the cost of it all. What is the cost of knowing your calling? Oh, God, it costs everything. It costs too much for you to fail. It costs, it costs everything. It costs money. It costs, it costs wants. Yeah. It costs your heart being broken. It costs time, a lot of time. Yeah, there's a time for everything. In every season, there's a time for everything. And saying that you need to live until you die is because you never know when things will hit for you. In the sense of, if you're working a 9 to 5 all day, every day, instead of complaining, transition that emotion into writing out. There was this couple when I lived in LA, when I first moved to LA. And I moved to LA. When I first to LA, although I was placed in the right people, I was losing a lot of different things. Because I've lost, I've gained, I've had nothing. I've been up, I've been down. There, it's funny because I could easily stop if I wanted to, right? If something in me said, you know what, this is enough, I would be happy with that. But there's something in me that's saying, no, it's not enough. You got to keep going, because this is a price. You're paying for something. You're paying for something. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when you're in the, I'm going back to the story, right? There was a couple that took me out to dinner one time in LA, and they were a part of some network marketing group that they were trying to get me involved in. So they took me to dinner, and then they asked me what was the number one thing I needed at the moment. But because I was so bogged down in everything I was losing, I could not think. All I could say was, where you want me to start? I need everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, but I did not know what to ask for specifically. They were asking me specifics, and I was giving them general because my mind was on what I was losing versus what I needed to gain. So I'm constantly meeting people and not recognizing. I'm learning along the way because I'm starting to see something is, and they're asking me to think, and all I'm saying is, I don't know how to think. I'm bogged down. So something in me is being challenged. I went to dinner with this couple and they said, you need to write down 101 things that you desire out of your life. I'm thinking to myself, what? Is this what you coming to offer me? When all I get, like, and I'm sitting up here like not realizing what they're offering is valuable. I'm putting the value mentally on something else, and I'm ignoring the value that they're offering simply because I'm bogged down in my mess. So now they're offering me a certain value, but I'm ignoring it because it's really making me mad. Because I'm like, you're telling me to write something down, and I'm telling you that I need everything. Like, what is this? Not thinking that this is actually helping me or putting me in a mental position to help myself. So then I do what they say do, even though it made me mad. And I left the dinner like, I ended up being really good friends with them because I actually went home and did it. But what that forced me to do was get out of the wrong mindset and get back into the right mindset. And it allowed me to see what I actually wanted versus focusing on the things that I was lacking. And then my life started shifting. So when the Bible says write it down and make it plain, I believe that it's to help you see in the process of going through. And a lot of people don't view it that way. They think, oh, vision boarding, oh, that's hoo-ha, that's, oh, we just write it down, but that stuff, it may come to pass, it may not. But it's a force that's making you think things that you actually desire versus the things you don't desire. And it's pulling you mentally out of being bogged down. And that's the beauty of envisioning where you need to go next. Write it. And if you can't think of 101, write down 99. But write down as much as possible because in that moment of thinking, you start to think of more things. The challenge is people don't sit down and hush and think. That's the part people don't do because of the day-to-day life. So.
Great. So I think you mentioned about writing, and I know you to be a writer too as well.
Yeah.
What did that teach you, writing?
Oh, writing taught me seclusion. Writing. So firstly, I started out writing prayers. Remember, I mentioned going back when my grandfather passed. That was my first prayer. My grandmother framed it, and because she just thought it was so beautiful. And then from that moment on, I just started writing out my prayers. So I have books and books of prayers, and what that taught me was how to pray specifically and positively. So that started my journey of writing. My book happened in 3 months. My book was seclusion. My book was one of those moments I thought I was going crazy again. I have that every now and again. When something hits me and I want to get it done, I pull away. I get secluded. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want people in my ear. I don't want to hear certain voices. I don't want to, like, You know what I mean? Like from people. Not woo 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 hear voices, just like from people's voices. I don't want to hear certain things. I don't want to even be challenged in certain things because I feel like some challenges are unnecessary in the moment. Like I don't need you to give me an extra challenge in the moment, you know? So, and then I popped out with a book and surprised everybody. Nobody knew I was writing a book.
Moment when you last had such that you just wanted to shut down, and what
Yesterday.
motivates you as well?
Yesterday. I had that moment yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday I slept all day. I was in and out of sleep all day, and it was good for me, in the sense of, how I release crying and thinking and channeling and repositioning and yeah. So I just had that moment yesterday. What prompted that is a place of not understanding things and being broken to be repositioned in a moment that you don't want to be. And yeah, just having to think through it and relax. So that's what prompted me.
What is it that you? What are those when you feel such thing?
The love. The love. Everything for me is about love and beauty. And that's what I hold on to from everything in life. Love and beauty. And respect. Respecting that, things happen that you don't necessarily want to happen all the time. Respect that everything will work out and everything will flow. Respecting God in it. Respecting God in every situation. I feel like something good comes out of everything. Everything. Um, Now, I'm not good with holding on to the people per se, but the idea of what that person brings to me, I hold on to love. Like I don't, there were times I've been hurt by a lot of people, like friends, family, like different people have hurt me along the way. But the most important part is it's love from all of it for me.
What would you have been doing right now if you had, your gift or your calling?
I would be traveling the world speaking to different nations. Yeah. About specifically about empowerment and how it's important to think highly. Yeah, to men and women. I'd probably be, you know, yeah, flying all over, talking to people, holding conferences, doing a couple of TED Talks on large stages, embodying who I am and loving every second of it with my partner. Yeah. When I speak of partner, I mean husband. Partner can get confusing for people. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm just like, that would be husband. Yeah. There were some things that I never wanted to do alone because I know the magnitude and how God is going to use me or has used me and will use me deserves to be protected and covered. and loved properly. So that's why I say with my husband, because I never wanted to do certain things alone. And God knows that about me. And I've had people along the way to make me feel bad or challenge that idea. Well, Alondra, you don't want this, you don't want that, you know, and I'm like, there's something in me that don't. Like I can't say yeah to something I really don't want, right? So I'm like, I've had people along the way because, there are certain environments that I have had the least amount of money in. Like a lot of people in my environments have a lot of money, particularly. Like that doesn't mean they have a lot of sense. It just means they have a lot of money. And then there's some people in my environment who have a lot of sense, very wise people. So I've had to take in the meat and spit out the bones with a lot of people in my life, most people, because I've been in a lot of different environments. Some people look up to that were really cruel, and then others that people don't look up to, but that were like the biggest blessings. So I've had to take in the meat and spit out the bones with what people desired for me, to try to stick with my main desires, to say, look, I'm sorry, I just don't want it, unless I have a partner, because I understand that it comes with a certain amount of covering, it comes with a certain amount of favor, and I want all that when I go out before God's people. And I think I deserve it. I think it is required of what I need to do.
How is that important to you? And how is that connected to your calling and that of your purpose as well?
So when I would travel with my grandfather when I was a little girl, my grandmother would always send me out with him as his accountability partner. Because there were certain things that my grandfather needed that I needed to be there for him, in the sense of, like, after he preaches, I remove his socks and shoes, or I make sure he takes his medicine while he's on the road, stuff like that. Like, and I was always around him anyway. So as a little girl, I recognized it as covering, or, to not to look to make sure he's not doing anything, but just to be in his presence and to know how he lives inside and outside the home. That was important for me to see and know. So I recognize that as covering, and I think I say this quite a bit when people ask me what 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 does having a husband look like to me? Like, what would that look like to me? Beyond the covering and the favor, it would look like, and protection. It would look like a person that does not want to be without me. It would look like a friend I can be vulnerable with when times are hard, when things are hitting different, when you're traveling, and you know, yeah, it would look like that balance, you know.
How has the men in your life nurture you and nurture your gifting and your calling today?
I think every man in my family, on both sides, my father's side, my biological father's side, and my mother's side, every man in my family knows my gifting. My gifting is communicating, reading over their whether it's reading over their sermons, whether it's, having the roundtable discussions about everything, whether it's them jogging my brain of the things that I was taught, whether it's how I'm living in that moment when I go back home, whether it's what to expect from certain ideas in certain ways of being, whether it's how a man should treat you, whether it's how you should treat a man, whether it's political, whether it's religious, because half of my family is Muslim, the other half is Christian. I am Christian. My mom's side is all Christian. They knew my grandfather. So, so here's the funny part. In the same city, my grandfather has a cathedral, a Pentecostal cathedral. In the same exact city as my uncle has a masjid. He's an imam. So on both sides of my family, I had religious leaders. So I was instilled to understand that faith has everything to do with how you're moving and what you decide and where you're going. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. Mistakes come with growth, right? That just means that you always have something to fall back on. And when your family knows your oil, they naturally nurture it because of how they respect you in environments, because of how they move with you, how they trust you, how they talk to you, and what they expect from you. So my family is very respectful towards me, and I them. So we kind of just move a little different. If you have siblings, you can tell by how your parents treat different siblings according to the personality styles and what they expect from different personality types and what it's the same thing. It's that. It's not a better or worse, it's just different. But they know from being able to communicate with me and how I learn and what I'm able to talk about.
So you had mentioned of, being in different environment, being in different places, and also being in different industries too as well, which is pretty much connected, and building businesses, and also your brand too.
And closing businesses.
Like the moment in your life, like how would you define failure? Like,
Well, of course, I've opened businesses and I've had to close businesses. I've another reason I look for partnership is that I've done everything. I've tried to do everything alone, which has been my number one mistake in business, and which ended in the business closing. I don't really believe in failure because as long as you keep going, it ends up being your very success. So I don't believe in failure, but it's been a good journey moving from LA to New York, working with different brands such as Anastasia, Beverly Hills. I've contracted with different TV networks like WeTV, A&E, Centric TV, BET, as a makeup artist on different sets, whether they were Grammys to commercials to life coaching TV shows, and then evolving to an artist. Being my first movie was with Mike Epps and Vivica Fox and Nipsey Hussle, and evolving from there. That was back in 2008 in LA, my first time in LA, and that was my first acting role, and then it evolved, and my last acting role leaving America was being a detective on Fatal Attraction. And then I moved to China as a teacher. As a teacher, and then I mainly to get out of America because I just never been out of America. And I wanted to live abroad. So it was the best route for me to go at the moment. So I did that, moved to China in 2019, left China, moved to Dubai in 2023. 2023. I was gone for 1 year, opened a makeup studio in Dubai, closed it for many reasons. Number one, it drained me financially. Number two, that is not my place to live. That's just not my place. So I found myself back in China in 2024 and been back ever since. So I was only gone for 1 year. So yeah, I've been back in China and now I am here to move forward in more of my calling. Sometimes timing just hits and it's time for everything I do to work together. And that's my focus and that's my goal. Also, love, family. I keep a close group of people around me. So I'm not really into, being a lot of different places at one time. And I'm just more settled, more focused, more ready. And yeah, I see my future looking bright, even though sometimes sometimes I question the process of this, but because it's not easy when you're answering God, when you know that you are here to help people, when you know that you're put in position that what you're doing is not all about you. There's a greater good and there's someone that needs you. When your mind transitions from I need something to something needs me, that's when you know it's time to answer. So that's the point I'm in. That's what my future looks like. It looks like me satisfying the needs of what I'm called to be doing. Yeah.
Good. So before we go deeper into your mission here in China and also like things you've done, take me back to like the last moment in America, just before you move over here to Asia. What was that like for you? What was the last moment?
Oh, that's good. My last moments in America, transitioning from closing my studio to moving to China. It happened very quickly. It happened 3 months apart from the moment I decided to submit an application to the moment I left. It was a 3 month stint. So within that moment, I sold everything. I My body was already gone. My mind was already gone. My body was waiting to leave. So it was a natural moment. It felt like it was natural. My uncle said to me one time when I first wrote my book, he said, "How does it feel to be a published book author?" And I'm like, he said, "It feels natural, doesn't it?" I said, "It does. It feels natural." Like I didn't know how to describe it, but I was like, that's it. It just feels natural. And I know people say, "Oh, move when you're scared, do this, do this, do this." And I understand that. And I understand there are moments you need to do that. But there's also moments you need to feel natural about the movements that you do. And it just felt natural. And when I landed in China, there were communication language barriers, but other than that, it still didn't feel. I didn't feel the fear. Like I never felt the fear of moving. I never felt the nervousness. I didn't feel anxious. It just felt natural. Things fell into place naturally. Like somebody bought my car, it was time to move out of my place and things were just moving. So it felt natural. And now that I've experienced that, I want that. I want things to feel natural. Even with what I'm doing, with everything I'm doing, if something is off, I feel it. I feel everything. And I never want to stop doing that. So I have to be careful. But it felt natural, and that's the feeling I love to feel when I'm making moves. Yeah.
So, just a follow-up question. What prompted the decision to move over? And also, who in your network kind of tried to question that decision as well?
No one. By the time I did that, people knew who I was. People knew what I was capable of. Whether it was my network, whether it was my family. My mom has never questioned my decisions. She's always and this is what I respect, even though how I mentioned earlier, we bump heads. But what I truly respect about my mom is that she knows if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. That's it. There's no, and it's been that way all my life. When I first moved to LA, I said, Mom, I'm moving to LA. She said, I know you're gonna do it, so I might as well bless you. Because I don't put my burdens on people to help me do it. So it's kind of like a well, she gonna do it type thing. And that's how my family moves. So how I move is not foreign to my family. It's how my dad moved. It's how my mom moved. You know, it's how my family moves. If they say they're gonna do something, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna do it. Otherwise, they won't tell you. They won't say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." There's not a lot of people in my family now. There's some, but there's not a lot that are like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that," and you never see anything happen. So it's kind of like they never tried to stop me. My family never tried to stop me. They will question me to make sure I have the right motives behind moving, like to make sure I'm not running from something because they want to get to the root of the problem. It's more of that than to question my decision making. Not many of my family members question my decision making anymore. I don't recall them ever have actually having questioned my decision making. It's always like, okay. If you say, and then if I don't do it, I just don't do it. But at the same time, it's like they don't really challenge it like that. Like I didn't come from that kind of family. Yeah.
So you also mentioned about you made a decision to come over to China, and
Mm-hmm.
also you made a decision to go over to Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and you also what was life like? What was life like in being far away from home and trying to build?
When I say I do stuff by myself, I literally do stuff by myself. And taking care of all the logistics, I do stuff by myself. So sometimes it's not that I don't want to learn new things. Sometimes I'm tired of learning things because I've had to learn so many different things in so many different lands. And some stuff I just don't want to know, you know? So I've expressed to people that I don't want to do everything alone anymore. Like I am tired of doing everything alone because I moved to Dubai at a moment that a woman was capable of owning 100% of her company. So I owned 100% of my company. That was the first year that they had opened that opportunity for people. They were welcoming small businesses and they were welcoming 100% ownership for small businesses, which is the only reason I took that and was like, maybe I'll go to Dubai because I used to love visiting there. But once I moved there, it dampened all ideas for it because when something is newly put in place, sometimes you don't always have the right support systems in place to uphold those new things you put in place. And that's what I was experiencing and having to have all the conversations by myself and having to do all of the submitting and the learning the hit this and that. It's a lot doing all the marketing, doing everything. So within these different countries, I've moved alone. I've only traveled alone. I don't travel with people. I would love to. That would be a new experience for me, you know. A man particularly. I don't travel with men. I don't. there's certain things that I have not done yet that I still look forward to do. So I always say that that would be in my husband because I don't have time to play games with people and just be traveling with nothing to come about. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not like, I'm not asked. You come across different things in life. And of course, people want you to travel with them, do that. Like, I'm not that person. So there's certain things I don't do when I'm traveling, so it's like I've literally done everything alone. And that includes financial backing of myself. That includes everything. And I'm tired. I'm over it.
Great. Great. And you mentioned being in Dubai and starting up your own business. And you've had experience of living in, bigger cities and cities that people would love to live in. What are some of like the lessons you've learned coming from LA to New York to that of like Shanghai, Dubai?
You have to be ultra aware and don't be afraid to let people go. Yeah. You have to be ultra aware and don't be afraid to let people go. Just because you met somebody and they've been around for years don't mean that they need to stay around. Just because a person was there when you landed and y'all grew a friendship, and sometimes you can be on the right path and then sometimes the path goes like that or like this. And it's like, don't be afraid of letting go. I've had to disconnect from people that have been in my life for 20 years because I realized when I was in it that I was just saving face because I didn't want them to not like me, or because I wanted to make sure that I was the best person. And yeah, and I'm speaking of friendships. I'm speaking of like any type of ship. Just don't be afraid to let that ship sail because sometimes it could keep you stagnant and keep you in the frame of mind of not growing. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So now that you decided to move back to China, Shanghai, why China and why not?
I don't know. I asked God, what was I gonna be? Like I asked, and I just kept hearing China clearly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I just kept hearing China clearly, and I kept asking. And then I went home to visit in between Dubai and China. And China, I kept getting calls back from China. And it was random. It was the most random thing because I didn't start getting calls from China until I got in America. They weren't calling me when I was in Dubai. Nobody was calling me in Dubai. I got to America to pop up on my mama for Mother's Day. I stayed a few months. I was in a transitioning mode because I'm like, okay, now I'm wide open. Like I could literally go anywhere in the world that I want to go. So I started researching other places, and I was praying one day because I was submitting for positions in America. I was like, maybe I should just stay here for a while. Because I didn't know where my next move was going to be. So I'm just in a moment of pure, like, I don't know. Like, so I just started submitting. I started contacting my network of people in America, and I have a strong network. I started contacting family members like, look, I need to submit. I was going on interviews until the day before I left America. Because in the interim, I'm still working this because I'm like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. So let me just go ahead and keep submitting documentation, da 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 da. And then I'll decide at the last minute if I wanted to continue to go or not. But I was still going along with the process, right? But in that, I was moving and submitting, because I'm like, Maybe I'm made to stay in America. So if I get a really good opportunity here, I'm going to stay here. Right? I'm talking about network. My network of people had me going on interviews, like everything. Nothing came about. Nothing. Until the day before I left, I went on an interview. So I'm here. It was proven to me that I heard correctly. So now moving forward, I think this is a moment that everything comes together. Because like I said, I'm in a place where I know people need me versus me needing people. You know? Thanks. Can we move to the game now? Are we almost finished? I'm ready to play. Yeah?
This interview,
Yeah.
right? And this is important as well.
Okay.
So, bring me a picture
Of what my future looks like?
of you probably 5 years from now, the stage you're standing on, and you had mentioned of things that you want to do. So, bring me a picture.
Oh, 5 years from now, I'm literally walking off my jet with my husband. We're going to this huge stage, and he's right there to support me. I don't know, maybe he'll come on stage with me, maybe not. Maybe this is just me speaking to nations of people. I'm in a white suit. I've always pictured myself on stage in a white suit, and I haven't been on stage in a white suit yet. I've been on plenty of stages, right? But not in a white suit yet. And for some reason, I keep picturing myself walking across the stage in a white suit. My husband is sitting, I don't see his face, so don't ask me who my husband is. My husband is sitting, my husband is sitting on the front row, standing, looking at me intensely, and in alignment and in agreement with what I'm saying. And we're happy, and we're moving around together. And we're accomplishing goals together because I feel like my husband would be on the same path, even though he may not be in the same industry. Because I never wanted to really, he might not be in the same industry, I'll just put it that way. But it's the same things, like able to move about, respect the artistry side. I feel like I would be more of an artist than he is because he would be my balance. Like I would be more in the forefront with the artistry side versus, and he would be more in the forefront in his field, but the fields are different, but moving accordingly. Like we're able to speak and still go on stages together and respect each other and move together. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's what I see. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Yeah. And I just don't see it without him. So that's why I keep saying husband. Every time I envision me doing something big, I always see him. So, yeah.
So, what would be like the first milestone that you would see that would make you to feel and to believe that this vision is
The first milestone, what would be the first milestone? I don't necessarily know what's going to happen next. That's my daily question. But what I do understand is that I'm starting from experience, not from the ground. So that's what I know is different about this time. Starting. Yeah.
So, what do you want, right, for people watching, especially women watching you, to feel like? What is the legacy?
The goal for watching this is to be okay with being vulnerable, to be okay with not knowing what is going to be next. Like I said, nobody knows what they're doing. To be okay with who you are in whatever you are doing. Don't be afraid to take your personality. Don't be afraid to take your work ethic, your abilities. Don't be afraid to be who you are in any of the environments that you put yourself into. you don't have to dumb yourself down. It feels like it sometimes to make other people feel comfortable, but let that be a small moment of things. Be okay to walk in your own lane. You don't have to be like anyone else. Your process does not have to look like anyone else's. Even if you have the same goals, your process is going to be completely different anyway. So don't be afraid to be who you are. Love who you are, regardless of where you come from, what experiences you have had, the things that have made you guilty and shame. Transitions those things into thinking that they are your gifting. What happens to you happens for you.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So what does luxury brand get from partnering with you?
They get me. What do you mean? They get me. They get me. I'm a multifaceted person. I have to understand I'm very comfortable in my acting abilities. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm very comfortable in who I am. So, having said that, that comes with a gift within itself. And partnering with me would get you different eyes to put on your branding, because I've been in so many different types of environments and have different influences and have, different networks of people. And then you get my personality, you get my style, you get my laugh, you get my joy, you get my encouragement, you get my beauty, you get you get me. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. you gotta know what you're working with. you know? So it's okay. It's okay.
So describe the award show or global stage you want to host first.
I wouldn't mind doing a TED Talk. I wouldn't mind it first. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing. I think something is in my eye. Oh, I wouldn't mind doing a TED Talk. I wouldn't mind. You know, there's so many things I want to do. I'm also a host. I would like to host different events. That can be a start to something great. I like to get to know people, which is probably the difference in how I connect to people. I like people for them. I want to know the person. I want the authenticity of a person. I don't care about the positions of things. I just don't care. And that could be because of what I come from, you know? Yeah. So that's the part I don't care about. I love the authenticity of people. And when people begin to be inauthentic, I tend to disconnect with that. And it's not about not knowing yourself. Because we learn ourselves more and more, but it's about learning to live in the moment that you're in and being okay with it. So, yeah, hosting would be good. I feel like, artists really needs more. So, I have ideas about certain things in China that's not offered yet. And I look forward to being able to share that when it's time. Okay, can we go into the game now?
Okay.
Can you ask me stuff off camera? Is it more you want to know?
Huh?
If it's more you want to know, can you just ask me off camera? We can talk, right? We can talk off camera. I mean, just, I don't, wait. Okay, bring it back. Let's go to the game.
Before we go to the game,
Okay.
what is one sentence you want for people to remember where you're from this conversation? What's one sentence?
One sentence. I'm simply am who God says I am. Nothing more, nothing less.
Good.
That's it.
Good. So now we go to the game. You want to go first?
Okay. Reading.
Rhythm? Rhythm. Rhythm and blues, rhythm. Rhythm and blues, rhythm. Rhythm being in step and in alignment while understanding there will be blues along the way. Thank you. Oh, you're giving me that word? Oh, I thought you was calling me dynamic. Okay. Dynamic. Dynamic. Life. Life is dynamic. Yeah. Life is dynamic. And can't that word be used can't that word be used differently? Like interchangeably a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, bad, and different. Dynamic. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And integrity.
Huh?
Integrity.
Integrity. Oh, integrity is necessary in everything you do. It's necessary. Integrity. It's so necessary. It's a lost art. Integrity is a lost art. Yeah.
No.
Love. Gentle but firm. Kind but strong. Kind and strong, actually. Generous. Steadiness. Rhythm and blues. Oh, it's so many words to love. Beautiful, romantic, dreamy, but real, does not waver, and lasting.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm getting the word right, but in Chinese there's a word called guanji, right? That has to do with relationship.
Guanji. What is that?
That has to do with relationship.
What kind of relationship?
And what comes to your mind if I mention relationship? That is
What comes to mind? Balance, flowing, not too hard. Not too hard. It shouldn't be hard. Relationship, integrity, and respect. For sure. Respect. Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Respect also is love. Respect. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is it for today. And
Yay! We did it!
so before
It just depends on how my life go. It just depends on how my life go. It could be, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's gonna be next to me, sitting next to me. I don't know on the sofa. That's kind of open. That's kind of open. It's kind of open now. It's kind of open. Yeah, it's kind of open.
okay,
Yeah,
I think it was nice, and I think you did extremely well,
yeah. Thank you.
and this was really lovely.
Aww.
I think you got everything it takes.
I think I got everything.
Yeah.